Welcome to Ghouls Night Out with your hostesses, Brandy and Jody. Hello, welcome. This is Brandy. I'm here with my sister Jody.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest tonight. Amy is here.
Hello.
That's Amy. She's going to tell us some ghost stories later. I did want to bring up, we have a crazy cardinal at the house.
A crazy
This cardinal keeps flying into the window in the kitchen. Yeah, over and over again. It keeps like slamming itself into the window. And
I wonder why.
well, I looked it up online.
With the flower curtains?
No, there's no curtain on this window. I did, at one point I took everything off and it still did it, so I put everything back. And it's doing it to the dining room windows, and there are like beige curtains in there.
Yeah.
But nothing else on the windowsill. And it keeps just flying into the windows over and over again.
Do you remember the cardinals I had last year?
Yeah.
I had a set of male and female, and they kept dive bombing my windows at my car, and I had flower car seats, so I thought that's why they're doing it. And they were pecking my windows.
Yeah.
And then they would just bomb it and run into it and peck at it. This was every day for like a few weeks. I don't know what the deal was.
That's so crazy. Because it's been doing it. I haven't seen it or heard it today, but I wasn't at home very much. But yeah, every single day, it's slamming itself into the window. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I looked it up, and it said that I thought maybe it was seeing its reflection, and it thought it was another male or something. And because the mating season is May to June, so I thought maybe it was just late.
Well, they say cardinals are, the deceased visitors.
I did hear that, but why slam yourself into the window over and over? It was just weird, and I don't know.
Well, as long as it's not attacking people, I guess it's whatever.
But it's just the weirdest thing. I don't know. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up. Another thing. Oh, I asked you before. Do you guys know who Michael Phelps is? No, Olympic swimmer.
Yeah.
So he set he's got the most gold medals and stuff for swimming, and a 10-year-old swimmer just broke his world record. Which I thought was kind of, it's not funny. I feel bad, but that's pretty funny. It says it's not very often Michael Phelps gets knocked off the record board, but 10-year-old swimming phenom with a superhero name has done just that. His name is Clark Kent Apuada. I'm sure I butchered that. And of course they call him Superman. He is 10 years old. Over the weekend, he swam in the Monterey County Aquatic Team and competed at the West International Championship in California, where he won the 100-meter butterfly in 1 minute 9.38 seconds. And that's more than a second better than the 100-meter butterfly record that Phelps set at the championship in 1995. So this 10-year-old kid has broken this guy's record, and he has won the most gold medals in the Olympics, I think, for swimming, for this 100-meter butterfly.
Yeah.
And this 10-year-old kid just kind of blew him out of the water and broke his record. I thought that was, and his name's Clark Kent. I thought that was so crazy. I love it. It cracked me up. But yeah, those were the only things. I forgot one paper that I had a story on, so I'll do that next week.
Well, last week we were talking about skinwalkers, and the rake was brought up.
That's right. Yeah, because that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, so I looked it up a little bit. It turns out that it's one of those things like the Slender Man.
Oh.
That someone made up.
Yeah.
And, it went crazy.
Yeah.
There was some weird thing, though, about where people had sent in, supposed stories of contact with it, or they've seen it, or whatever. And then they all of a sudden disappeared off the internet. I'm not sure what all that was about. It was probably part of the story or whatever, but it's not. It's not real.
So it could be just like a creepypasta.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of probably based on the Skinwalker, though, right?
It didn't say it was.
Oh.
But they did, in the the descriptions where the supposed stories came from said it was like a dog-like creature.
Oh.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
But supposedly it's not real.
Oh. Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, the pictures online are still creepy.
Yes, they are.
The
Yes,
rake
they
that
are.
we
Even the stories that I read about it that, they were supposed to be first-hand accounts or whatever.
Yeah.
Creep me out, like
Really?
thinking about it when I went to bed and it's dark and stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to have the TV on all night, and
Yeah.
so it was spooky.
Well, that's how I felt about your stories, and I mean those creature things didn't have a name because they were so weird, and you've never heard of anything like it before ever.
Yeah.
So maybe who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So one of our listeners suggested a story that we do.
Yeah.
And it's
on the Facebook page. You guys look it up.
Yes, on our Facebook page. She suggested, and her name is Annie Borden Zakaria, and she suggested the Elizaville Monster.
Which she is the one that sent in her story.
I went ahead and looked up the story.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go ahead and read it. It's out of Indiana, where we live. So, and I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, because I did read that post on there, and I've never heard of it before either, so I'm very interested.
So it's the Elizaville Monster. It says, Elizaville is a small town in Boone County, Indiana, that has a dark secret. Many people have died there. The town has, at last count, 4 cemeteries and a lot of abandoned cars parked on the side of the road. If you walk through the fields, you're likely to stumble upon some human bones. Local authorities have gone through on a number of occasions, but never found enough evidence to convict any civilians. Elizaville has another bit of odd lore. Those who have driven through this town between the times of 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. talk of a giant humanoid, which appears to be part man and part beast, prowling through the fields in search of something. A witness recently described an encounter with the monster. I went to this town with 3 friends. We were able to get directions from the internet, which had been posted by a previous visitor, and eventually we discovered a simple green road sign which said Elizaville. We drove along the roads for a while, some of which were paved with gravel, making us have to drive along slowly. We saw no creature stalking among the fields, no bones, and no abandoned cars. But there were some things we saw that were rather creepy. Part of a cornfield had been smashed through, as if by a car, a relatively nice-looking house with its windows busted out, tire marks on the road which swerved in weird directions. Then we came into an area that smelled of decaying meat.
Ew.
Also, it was uncharacteristically cold for a summer night. It seemed that we were not only pervaded by the stench of death, but by the very feel of it. Also, my friend who was sitting next to me in the back of the car complained of serious stomach cramps, which he always seemed to get when something bad is about to happen. This never seems to occur under different circumstances than when there's trouble in the future. Our journey soon ended after I looked out the window beside me and saw, sitting a few feet from the edge of the road, a human head laying sideways on a tree stump. The blood was still shiny and wet, and its eyes were wide open and staring straight in my direction.
Ew.
I went for the switch that closed the window, but the damn thing had been locked, and I told the driver to close the fucking thing. When I described what I had seen, we immediately left Elizaville and went back to Indianapolis. When we were on familiar grounds, I told them we should probably report this. They said it would be pointless, seeing that outside law enforcement never found enough evidence to convict anyone. By the time we called the cops and had them out there, the head would have likely been gone. There could still be traces of blood on the stump or on the grass around it, but this would be eventually meaningless. And Elizaville itself does not have its own law enforcement, so it would take a while for any patrol cars to arrive there. I was greatly shaken by the whole thing, and my fingers were trembling even now that I'm typing this out. It was the first time I had seen fresh death.
Ooh.
Now you can believe the account or simply dismiss it, but similar encounters have happened in this strange location. Many of the residents agree that there is something evil responsible for the large number of missing people. There's apparently no scientific explanation of the disappearances that have continued for the past 100 years. The beast is usually described as a 7-foot-tall man-beast that's spotted at night, wandering around cemeteries and fields. Locals say that if you scream between the hours of 1 to 3 a.m. anywhere in the town, the creature will hunt you down, kill, and eat you, bones included. A former teacher at Lebanon High School who lived in nearby Elizabeth for almost 15 years shared the following information with me. I lived on Elizaville Road, across the road from a farm. For several years, I noticed that people would drive out of town at extremely high speeds, as if they were in a panic. This usually happened at night. On 2 occasions, I heard a high-pitched squeal that were followed by loud grunts. These sounds came from the direction of my backyard, which led to a large cornfield. Both times I contacted the Boone County Sheriff, and the deputies would take a look, but they never went into the cornfield. I had heard the stories about the monster, but never saw any evidence, though those squeals and grunts were terrifying. I later got a teaching position in Muncie, Indiana, and moved away. Several years ago, I was told that a former neighbor in Elizabeth received a holiday visit from her sister. The sister went on an errand one evening and was never seen again. Her car was found in a field on the other side of town. I had heard that others have gone missing, but I cannot verify that.
Whoa.
And
Well, I do have to say, I will not be going to Elizaville.
no.
I've never even heard of Elizaville, and it's Boone County. Boone County is not far. I mean, I think Boone County is like Zionsville.
I don't know.
We don't do geography on
No,
this podcast.
no, we don't. That is against the rules.
That's crazy.
So that was the story of whatever that was called. The Elizaville monster.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I never
I've
heard
never
of that
heard of
before.
that.
We
Yeah.
should go.
I think we should too.
Just see where it's at.
I don't know about
It's
that.
so crazy hearing stories about that where you know where they are.
And we're not that far from Boone County.
Right. It's so
Well,
crazy.
maybe we should take a trip one night before.
Not night, day.
Oh. Well, it's not as fun during the day. It's just like going to anywhere.
Yeah. We should go there during the day and then
Come
stay
back
until
at
it's
night.
night.
And then hurry up and drive out of town real fast.
Yeah.
Okay, we've seen enough. Let's go.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah. Well, Amy, are you ready to tell us some ghost stories?
Which one do we want?
I want to hear some ghost stories.
The first one I want you to tell is the one at your house in Kentucky. The one with the bathtub.
Okay. So we bought the land and we had like a modular home put on it on a brick foundation, all that stuff. When we bought the land, we had it surveyed. So come to find out, about a week or it was probably 2 weeks after everything got set up and we got to move in, we had a really heavy rain. And so I look at my window and we kind of set up on a hill and our land was kind of at a slope, so it went down on like a valley. And there was a bunch of steam coming out of the ground. So the day before that, there was tons of water sitting down there. The next day I look out, there's a bunch of steam coming out and there's no water. And it had rained like really hard for like 2 days. So it was like the water was standing. So come to find out that we sat on a cave, which the cave led to Bowling Green, Kentucky, which attached into Mammoth Cave and all that stuff that went on to Glasgow.
Huh.
So one day I was getting ready. I had a friend coming to get me. We were going to go out shopping. And I had my tub running. I was going to take a bath. And I went to go get in the tub. And my TV turned up really loud in the living room. So I went in there and turned it back down, not thinking, because we had dogs, cats, thinking, oh, they stepped on the remote, whatever.
Sure.
I just turned it down, went back to get in the tub. My TV went back up again. So I went back in there, turned down the volume, noticed that the dogs are sleeping, so it wasn't the dogs at that time like stepping on it or anything. It was laying on the coffee table. So I go to get back in the tub. As I'm getting in the tub, my toilet flushes.
Oh my god.
Yes. So I'm like, okay. Well, we had a cat. Now, mind you, cats don't like water.
Right.
My cat didn't, and my cat's never has jumped into the bathtub or anything.
Uh-huh.
So the way our bathroom was set up, we had like a long vanity on one side, 2 sinks, and then a big huge tub, and then if you went around to the other side, there was another sink. So I'm taking my bath, the cat jumps up at that single sink and like jumps in the bathtub.
Whoa.
And starts going crazy. So I get out of the bathtub freaking out. Well, my
Yeah.
friend showed up this time and she was like, I'm here, she's in the kitchen. I'm like, I'm getting ready, this and that. Well, like a couple minutes later, she comes flying running into my room and she's like, who the hell's here?
Oh.
And I'm like, nobody's here. And she was like, I just seen, like, they went right past me, like, in your, like, and
Oh.
it spooked her.
Oh my God.
So then I tell her, I'm like, okay, we need to go. Like, I went shopping with my hair wet the whole 9 yards because I was explaining to her what was going on.
Yeah.
So I'm freaked out, and I was telling my ex-husband about it, and so when I was telling him about it, he must have, like, the kids were around or something, and I don't know how it went. If he had said something, we had some neighbors kind of up the hill on one side, and honestly, when we moved into the place, I wasn't too sure about them anyway. Like, my kids called them the Clampets. I'm not, so they were kind of spooky, like, the spooky side. Very friendly people, though, and I don't know if the kids mentioned something to him that I thought there was a ghost, or if my husband did, but it was like the next day, maybe 2 days later, he goes, so, I hear you met the ghost.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what ghost? He goes, well, down there in that sinkhole that you have now, his mom, that was alive at this time, used to own all the land that we lived on, and she sold it off. Before she bought that land, there used to be a home there, and it was a gambling house.
Huh.
And a lot of men went in there and gambled and drank and stuff. Well, it burnt down one night and killed a bunch of them.
Oh, no.
And he said, this whole land is haunted. He was like, and right there in that hole, they were out there, he was out there with his flashlight at this time. Right down here is where my brother died. And I'm like, what do you mean your brother died? He goes, yep, he had a seizure and fell off in the hole. And he died, and we didn't find him for a couple of days.
Oh, shit.
So, the sinkhole had been covered back up or whatever. We were not told this when we bought the land, but the land was totally haunted. Totally
Oh, my God.
haunted. Needless to say that I hated being there by myself.
Yeah, I would
Because
too.
just crazy stuff would go on.
Oh my God, I would be so nervous. That'd be creepy.
Yeah, it was. It was very creepy. And he was like, the whole land's haunted. He was like, so you've met the ghost, And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I don't remember how many he said died there, but if you go down to these parts of Kentucky, there's so many things. Like my ex-mother-in-law's house, for instance, right before her husband died, they kept seeing, and he wasn't the greatest of a person. She kept seeing these little black demons, like shadows, go down, like in her living room and stuff. And she had told us on the phone about it and stuff, and I'm thinking, she's nuts,
Right.
Well, then I guess she's seen a big one go down the hall. And
my
she
gosh.
had a friend of hers come, her husband was a preacher. She was telling her about it at work. She went home, told her husband about it, and they called her that evening and was like, we need to come out there. So her daughter was younger, and she had a room full of all these stuffed animals, like from the fairs and stuff. You kind of get like the half lion looking, like bear type. Well, she had all kinds of stuff. Well, he made them throw all that out.
Oh.
And did what he needed to do to the house. Well, a couple weeks goes by or whatever, and they didn't see anything. Well, then she woke up in the middle of the night, and her husband was dead on the floor. They say it was diabetes. I don't know, but
Oh my God.
I do know that after that, she never seen another one again.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I stayed there for a while. When I lived there, Lindsay was little, which is my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She had a friend. And she would always, like, we had to set a place at the table for this friend. I had to have extra food for this friend. I mean, it was spooky because this was really real to her.
Right.
And she would be going down the hall going, come on, it's okay. I'm like, who are you? It was spooky.
Yeah.
And she finally got rid of that home and bought a new modular home or whatever and put down there. And nothing ever really happened after that with that part,
Mm-hmm.
But the next man that, she had married later on, he worked on a huge farm down there that was his job, working on the farm, keeping the farm up and things like that. They had like 4 houses on this big farm. One of the houses was like people who were there that worked on the farm that rented or whatever. They had a house, and she had a baby, and she was, every night when she would rock the baby, something would stroke her hair.
Ooh.
Yes. And they've got pictures where they have caught, because what happened is the house caught fire one night. Don't know why.
Huh.
The house burned up, and the pictures that were made of when the house was burning and stuff, you see all kinds of it was weird, but you could see, what do they call them, orbs or something, but they were in shapes of like Civil War people and stuff. You could see this in these pictures. Man, I wish I could get all the pictures.
Yeah.
But somebody would stroke her hair every night and push the rocking chair.
Oh my
and rock
gosh.
her. And that's all down in the same area we were in.
That is creepy.
Yeah.
I just got chills.
I know.
That place where I lived, when he told me, have you met the ghost? I'm like, are you kidding me? Because,
my
I mean,
gosh.
just weird things would go on there all
Yeah.
the time. Just stupid stuff. And I'm like, I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah, you do think you're going
Yes.
crazy because you can't explain that. You just, and you try to come up with these excuses, but you know, it comes back to it just can't be explained. You don't know what's going on.
I have so many other stories. I can't even think. What ones have I brought up to you, Jody?
You can tell the one about.
Well, about the house and the rearranging.
I don't remember that.
Okay, so down in the same, they lived in town though. It was relatives of ours, my ex-husband's. They bought a house in town, and the town's not very big.
Yeah.
And it was an older house, but it was beautiful. Like, they lived there maybe a year or so, and nothing had really went on in that year.
That's the worst. When you live there comfortably and then all of a sudden shit starts happening.
Right.
And that's how every ghost story starts. Well, they moved in this house and it was great for a few months.
Yeah. I was actually pregnant with my son, and Kelly and Jeff kept telling us every time they would go home, whether she just went to the store or whatever, and they would come in, the house would be rearranged. I'm not talking like a toaster moved or something. I'm talking about the whole darn house would be rearranged. The furniture, everything.
No.
So she had noticed a few times, never downstairs, the lady, but a lady upstairs. And when they would be leaving, she would notice her in the window. So this actually,
I would not ever go back
No
to that house.
fucking way.
Kelly and Jeff would rearrange the house, and it got to the point to where it started causing problems with them because they were starting to think like each other's crazy. Well, they had a daughter, and when they were living there, she like had these fits, like these crazy fits, like throwing herself on the floor and banging her head in the floor, and just
shit.
outrageous fits until they. So what had happened? They did end up moving. They went to the bank and asked for all of the records. Now, if you don't ask, they don't have to tell you or whatever. But
Right.
who in their who's going to say, "Oh, is this house haunted?" You know, they're not going to think
Right.
that. So they went to the bank. They had to pull all the records. The house was listed as haunted.
Oh my god.
So they ended up selling the house.
Yeah.
And their daughter actually stopped the fits.
Oh wow.
But I mean, they lived in there probably a little over 2 years before they ever got to move and get it sold.
Right.
But they dealt with this for a long time and never no harm. But she would put the house back together, and the lady, I guess it was, would rearrange it. And they wanted me. I went over there one day to babysit the girls for them, and I'm pregnant, and I'm nervous wreck. So when I pull up, I'm staring at this window outside, and I'm like, if I see her, I'm leaving. I'm not babysitting. So I go inside, and one of the littlest one wants to keep going upstairs, and I was like, we're not going up there. Like, you stay down here. We're gonna play down here. And I mean, I maybe have been there an hour, and I was like, I can't take it no more because I was freaking out. I was like,
Yeah.
what is that? What is that? Thinking that if I see this lady, I'm pregnant, like I'm watching kids, I'm gonna freak out. So I called them. I was like, I have to go. I don't feel well, but I just couldn't do it because I know what all they'd been through in there, and I just could not do it.
That's more like psychological, messing with your head, kind of.
She never did any harm to them.
Right.
No message, nothing. But she had a certain way she wanted the house.
Oh my gosh. That is insane.
So it's obvious that it was someone that lived there.
It had to have been.
Before.
I would guess. Like, who wants
Yeah.
the house set up that? And it was always moved back the same way. So
And that always reminds me of like Beetlejuice, where you know you're living in your house and these other people come in, or the others. Have you ever seen that?
That was a great movie.
Oh my god, it was great. But you know, you live in this house and you find your stuff in different spots, and you're like, what the fuck? And you move it back, and then you realize you're the ghost.
yeah.
That's creepy. Oh my gosh, what else?
Thinking. There has been so many. Oh my goodness. I remember, and this was actually here, a girl I grew up with. She had lost her dad. And when she lost her dad, they moved. And we were young teenagers. And she had a waterbed. And her room was down in the basement, but it was like a fireplace. It was cool.
Yeah.
And I remember one night we had went out with some friends and stuff. You know, like we had curfews and stuff. And we were in, and we were going to sleep. And she was already asleep. And I wasn't fully asleep, but the bed, like, kept... And I'm going to go back to something after I tell this story that has to do with this. The bed, I don't know if you've ever laid in a water bed, But if somebody was to stand on it or something, you're going to like turn to one side.
Yeah.
But I kept shifting back and forth like somebody was walking on it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like shaking her like, something, what is that? What is it? Why? She goes, it's okay. It's just my dad.
Oh.
Well, did I go to sleep? No. I was scared to death.
Right.
But right before she had moved there, she called me because they had his ashes in the apartment. And she called me freaking out one night. And she was like, I was sitting on the staircase because when we hung out at our house, we'd always sit, she lived in an apartment at this time. We would sit on the staircase and lean back and talk on the phone and everything.
Right.
And she felt like was her dad. She couldn't describe it. But it wasn't like something that, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
So she was freaking out and she thought it was because the ashes were there and stuff.
Yeah.
So after they had moved, and they'd lived there for a while before this happened to me there. So I'm like, is this a regular thing? Like, who walks on your bed? I mean, just, so I don't even ever think I stayed all night there again, because that just.
I sure the hell wouldn't.
No.
If
I didn't sleep either, because I'm like, what do you mean your dad? You just walk around on your bed? What? I mean,
yeah.
It wasn't nothing like.
Even if he was alive, that wouldn't be right.
No.
Be like, oh, he's just walking around on my bed. It's all right.
Yeah.
Just go to sleep.
I have so many other stories, and I have to sit here and think because I'm brain dead. Okay, so I do have another story, and this was pretty recent, like within the last year. We have some friends that live out towards Zionsville, Westfield, and they have a camera on their porch. So at like 2 o'clock in the morning, their doorbell's ringing. Oh. Well, nobody's out there. So they're like, what, so they're looking at the camera, trying to figure out who's ringing their doorbell.
Yeah.
Well, on the camera, it shows like one orb floating around on their porch. So they're thinking, oh, it's the lighting or something, But then it starts getting more orbs. And it like just keeps circling around their door, and then it'll back off, and then it'll circle around the door. So whatever or who it was ringing their doorbell. So they're like, okay, it's probably the light, Well, a couple nights later, it's back, ringing the doorbell, and it's got more orbs, and it looks like it's trying to go into the house, and then it comes back, and it goes back and forth on this camera, so you can see it in the camera.
Huh.
And I told them it's time to move, but they're not going to do that because I would have done moved. I think this has happened maybe a total of 5 times because they just posted again last month. Well, whoever it is back. Like, so it rings the door. This is in the middle of the night when this goes on.
Oh my gosh.
And there's and what's so weird is there's a speaker to this camera. And somebody had asked, what is that noise in the background? Because it sounds really weird, like spooky. And they're like, well, we think it's the traffic from the main road, which they don't sit nowhere like close to the main traveling road.
Right.
So if that was the traffic noise, it just didn't sound right at all. So they get this visitor quite often.
That's
and
crazy.
Rings the doorbell. Yeah.
Didn't you say that was recent? Like this is going on right now?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
We also, I don't know how many people like to go to funerals. I don't.
No.
And I think this will probably make you think twice about if you go to a funeral and you kiss the dead. So my sister, and this was years ago, her and her boyfriend, like they had 2 kids together. And I want to say it was his uncle's funeral they were at. And during the funeral, and I don't know what this is called, I think it's like when somebody dies, and I don't know if all the nerves are dead or what, but during the funeral, as the funeral's going on, the body jerked up.
Like sat up?
Like jerked up and went back down.
Oh my god.
And like everybody pretty much cleared the funeral.
Yeah.
Because it scared everybody.
Yeah.
So, like, if I ever go to a funeral, I'm not going to bend over and tell them nothing or kiss them or anything because I would be laying with them.
Oh, my gosh.
So, that's pretty creepy. No.
I would have nightmares for the rest of my life.
And I've heard of that happening.
I have too.
But I'm like, how does that happen? Like,
it's just
they take they drain everything out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, how can that still be moving? That's crazy. Ugh.
I'm good because I don't like funerals, and I would never.
Thank God for people.
I mean,
that
the
can
funerals I've been
do-
to, people bend over and kiss them and whisper to them.
No.
I'm not doing that.
No.
I don't do that because
No.
the person's not there
No,
anymore.
that's not
they're,
them.
They're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just a meat sack. That's.
But could you
Yeah.
imagine bending over and kissing them or something and they jerk
No.
up? Like,
I would
Oh my
probably have
God.
a freaking heart attack.
right.
I would be traumatized.
I would.
I couldn't handle that. That's insane. No.
Yeah. But whatever's visiting their house, it's not coming in.
Well, that's
or,
good.
Or I'm pretty sure they would have done left because I would have left over ringing the doorbell in the wee hours of the night.
Yeah. That
And
would.
then seeing that on the camera because they check their camera every time because when they go, there's nobody there.
Right.
And it rings the doorbell.
Normally, I don't take much stock in orbs, but when they're doing something specific,
And you see
instead of
an
just
orb-
floating around or
Yeah,
whatever,
I know,
Right.
and you can see it. And I'll pull it up in a little bit for you guys.
Okay.
You can see where they're going to the door and it backs off. And to the door and it backs off.
Oh my gosh.
So they thought, oh, it's the lighting, but it's not. And you can clearly see this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, orbs don't usually impress me much, but if an orb happens to be there and something, like physical is happening, that's more than a coincidence,
yeah.
And it's happened more than once. Like, it's happened
Yeah,
quite a
that's
few times.
great. That would scare me so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are from here. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the House of Blue Lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So back when I was younger, I was probably like 15, 16. A bunch of us had planned that we were going to go up in that area. It was close to Halloween.
Yeah.
So we knew we were all going to go.
Where was that at? Was that
It's up
like
in Castleton near Avalon Hills.
okay?
So up in the hills, there used to be cabins and stuff. And the man had tunnels dug to every cabin. And his wife had died. And he kept her in a casket in his house.
Oh my gosh.
But from my understanding, he was killing people too that were staying there. Like in the cabins, he would go in his tunnel, do whatever. Crazy. He never was found that I know of. I don't think they ever caught him. But, all of that, they got houses and stuff built up there now. But all of that was like, keep out. They had, you weren't allowed up in there. And the night before we went there, I had a dream. And it was so weird because I didn't know who all was going with us. We just knew a bunch of us was going to, didn't know. And in my dream that night, I dreamed that we were in this certain car with these certain people. And we got pulled over by the police for our tail light being out. And it was weird. So the very next night, we went to where the House of Blue Light, all that was. It was all knocked down at this time, but you weren't allowed up in there. They had it all, roped off and stuff. And we're up in there, and we're walking through there, and we finally ran into a sign that was like, you have 2 seconds to get out of here or you're dead, and this and that. Which I don't know who put that in there. The guy had never been caught at this time, definitely. And, like, it scared me. I'm a chicken when it comes to that. So I
me
took off
too.
running out of there. I mean, and all of them came, and on our way home from that, we got pulled over for a tail light out.
Huh.
In that same car, yes. So that's kind of
Oh, I
weird.
would
So I'm
freak
freaked out anyway.
Yeah.
So when I get home, I'm telling my mom about where we've been. She was pretty mad. Like, why would you go there? Like, why would you even go up there and mess around and stuff?
Yeah.
And then I start telling her about my dream, and I think she thought I was a little crazy, but it was true. I mean, I had that dream the night before we went,
Yeah.
and that happened on our way back from there.
Oh
So
my
that's
gosh.
weird.
Yeah. I've never had anything like that happen.
I'm pretty sure though they never did. We'll have to research that, but I don't think they ever caught him.
I will. I'll do a story about that. That's House of Blue Lights. I'm gonna have to remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
So
lot.
I remember hearing about that, but I've
and
never
it's right
looked
there on
into it.
465 North. Like if you're getting off the North Shadeland
That's like super
ramp,
close.
that big hill part up there, that's where it was.
Yeah.
all
Oh.
that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really. Whew, that's crazy.
Dreams are crazy too.
Yeah.
I had that dream about Eric's mom when she was in the hospital.
I remember
still
you
freaks
telling-
me out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do an episode about that.
But have you
Yeah.
ever, what do they call it, deja vu? Like you've had dreams, and then it could be 2 or 3 years down the road, and you see like the same thing that was in your dream. Do you get?
I've never, no. The only thing weird that I have had is I will dream about the same place over and over and over. And I guess nobody ever does that.
I used to have a same dream when I was younger all the time. I mean, like every night, and I would wake up in the middle of it and take off and get in bed with my mom and dad. And why, I don't know, but I was out in the desert. I will never forget this dream because I dreamed it so much.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it was motorcycles chasing me. Crazy. I
Yeah.
don't know. And it's like right when they would get close, that's when I would wake up. And I would go jump in bed with my mom and dad. And I had this dream forever. The same dream.
That's crazy.
I've had recurring dreams.
I'm not talking about reoccurring dreams, though. It's like a place that I've never been before, and I'll dream about it twice in 1 month. And I used to do that. I don't do it anymore. But, like, I guess you're not supposed to do that. Like, that's something that you don't do. Like, you don't dream about places you've never been, and
But
you
that's
usually
what I
don't.
was saying. Have you ever had a dream of something you've never been to? And it could be a year down the road, and then you're like, you go somewhere and you're like, I know that, like,
I used to have major deja vu, like all the time, but in the past, like 10 years, I haven't.
no, it's weird. And I don't know, if you've never had it happen, you're just like, I've been here, like, I know this, but you've never been there before.
Yeah.
So, I don't, I guess, I don't know if it's called deja vu, I don't know.
It might be like, wonder if it'd be like past life
I don't know.
or something. Like you have been to that place, but it was a past life, not this
That would
one.
be deja vu, though, right? Wouldn't it? Kinda?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't know. I know whatever happened. I think they always
Oh,
say
yeah, that wouldn't be quite.
your fear is obviously something that happened to you in your past life was what your fear would be now.
Yeah.
I've heard birthmarks have a lot to do, like how you were killed in your past life. Your birthmarks show that in this life.
Well,
You ever heard that?
Lord, I don't know how I died then, 'cause I'm not going to tell where my birthmark is, but you don't want to know.
I've got birthmarks all over my head.
Really?
So I think I was shot in the head.
I have a birthmark, but it's like around my pit area, so I don't know.
And see, my biggest fear is drowning or burning.
I have
So
a
I'm
thing
just
about
like-
drowning.
I have a thing about dying in general.
I have a thing about your car going off a
I do
bridge
too.
into
Yeah, I do
water,
too. Yeah.
and it freaks me out.
Yeah, to drive over bridges. And
Yeah.
Well, I just read recently that bridges are collapsing at an alarming rate around the world because of, cheap structure
Well,
and shit.
not
Well,
only
like
cheap
the
structure,
ground.
but they're old and they're not.
Right. Yeah, they're
fixing
not.
them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you gotta think the ground shifts. I mean, it's.
Well, look at all the sinkholes that have been happening.
Oh, that scares the shit out of me. I saw one where an entire car was inside of it. Mm-hmm. So scary.
There's houses down in Kentucky where the whole house went in.
Oh my god. No.
Can you
And
imagine
like
being
that
in your
could happen
house
to
and
us.
then it,
No.
Yeah.
I think a guy died like that. Like he was relaxing, watching TV,
Well,
and
yeah.
he just fell through the sinkhole that opened up in his living room.
Well, where we lived out, I mean, that easily could have happened because
No.
a cave is a sinkhole.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's
we lived,
right.
And that opened up.
Oh
so,
my
Like, it could have
God.
any
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Mm.
That's crazy. And I wouldn't have bought that land had they surveyed it right.
That is too scary. I can't even think about that.
if you think about it, though, there's so many things that could kill you.
Oh yeah.
So many.
Let's just not think about it because yeah, I'm always afraid like a plane is gonna crash into the house, and I'm sitting there.
I always hated whenever Peyton would play out in the front yard.
Oh yeah.
I could just picture every time a car.
Careening,
Losing control
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it
I
just-
do that too.
Well, that's funny that you said something about a plane crashing in a house. So, where I used to live, not in Kentucky, but here, there was an older couple that built a house across the street from us. And he had what you call, I think it's called elephant's man disease. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Like elephantitis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like where you get them big.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what he had.
Oh, okay.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and she wasn't in very good shape either. But they told us the reason why they got to build the house because they got paid from the airline company. Don't know, but they lived in a trailer, and an engine fell off a plane and crashed through their trailer.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, I mean, that's crazy.
That is
see,
crazy.
You never know what's going to happen.
You don't.
Something could fall out of the sky and land on your head. You don't
No,
know.
that is unacceptable.
And that was somewhere here.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I don't know. I mean, like, that was 2002 when we built the house, and they built them one across the street. So I don't know how long before that the engine fell through their trailer, but
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I just thought that was crazy. I thought, are they nuts or what? But,
Oh
I mean,
my gosh.
I guess it was. I mean, they were telling the truth. So you never know. I mean, you don't. I couldn't imagine, but sitting there watching TV and
Hell
and a plane
no.
crash through your house.
That would
That
suck.
would scare the shit out of me if I wasn't dead.
Well, and a friend of mine lives in Tennessee, I think, and her house has been crashed into twice.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's
Like
different.
how? Like with a car? Or?
Yeah, like people have driven into her house twice. I think it's 2 different houses too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she's like, well, this is, because she posted on Facebook, this is the second time this has happened. I'm like, oh my God, that's insane. I would be so scared because those poor little girls I think it was in Indiana, they
Oh, yeah,
died
yeah.
because someone crashed into their
They were
living room.
drinking and driving. It was
Yeah.
a teenage girl.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Oh my God.
Minding your own goddamn business
Yeah.
in your house, and someone comes and drives through it.
Oh my God.
Like, hey, I'm here for dinner.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy.
And usually it's a high-speed chase, or they're drunk, or something.
Something stupid. Well, do you want to do the witty wrap up?
Sure.
All right. This is where we tell funny jokes.
Yeah, Amy doesn't listen to the podcast.
I'm
just kidding.
Okay, so these are just some jokes that I found. Okay, the first one is, a child asked his father, how were people born? So his father said, Adam and Eve made babies, then their babies became adults, and made babies, and so on. The child then went to his mother, asked her the same question, and she told him, we were monkeys, then we evolved to become like we are now. The child ran back to his father and said, you lied to me. His father replied, no, your mom was talking about her side of the family. All right. A woman gets on a bus with her baby. The bus driver says, that's the ugliest baby that I've ever seen.
Oh.
The woman goes to the rear of the bus and sits down, fuming. She says to a man next to her, the driver just insulted me. The man says, you go right up there and tell him off. Go ahead. I'll hold your monkey for you.
Aww. That's sad.
A boy asks his father, Dad, are bugs good to eat? That's disgusting. Don't talk about things like that over dinner, the dad replies. After dinner, the father asks, now, son, what did you want to ask me? Oh, nothing, the boy says. There was a bug in your soup, but now it's gone.
Haha, that's what he gets.
There was an elderly couple who, in their old age, noticed that they were getting a lot more forgetful. So they decided to go to the doctor. The doctor told them that they should start writing things down so they don't forget. They went home and the old lady told her husband to get her a bowl of ice cream. You might want to write it down, she said. The husband said, no, I can remember that you want a bowl of ice cream. She then told her husband she wanted a bowl of ice cream with whipped cream. Write it down, she told him. And again he said, no, I can remember. You want a bowl of ice cream with whipped cream. Then the old lady said she wants a bowl of ice cream with whipped cream and a cherry on top. Write it down, she told her husband. And again he said, no, I got it. You want a bowl of ice cream with whipped cream and a cherry on top. So he goes to get the ice cream and spends an unusually long time in the kitchen, over 30 minutes. He comes out to his wife and hands her a plate of eggs and bacon. The old wife stares at the plate for a moment, then looks at her husband and asks, where's the toast? Oh, I'll get there. I'm already on my way. Let's see. An Amish husband, wife, and son travel to the city on vacation. They visit a shopping mall, and while the mother is shopping, the father and son are standing in awe in front of the elevator, having no idea what it is. As they watch, an elderly lady walks into the strange silver doors, and the doors close. The father and son watch as the numbers go up, then go back down. When the doors open, a beautiful young woman walks out. The father leans over and whispers to the son, "Son, go get your mother." All right. A 7-year-old and a 4-year-old are in their bedroom. "You know what?" says the 7-year-old. "I think it's time we started swearing. When we go downstairs for breakfast, I'll swear first, then you, okay?" "Okay," replies the 4-year-old. In the kitchen, when the mother asks the 7-year-old what he wants for breakfast, he answers, "I'll have Cocoa Pops, bitch." Whack! He goes flying out of his chair, crying his eyes out. The mother looks at the 4-year-old and sternly asks, "And what do you want?" "Dunno," he replies, "but it won't be fucking Cocoa Pops." And then my last one is, a kid asks his dad, "What's a man?" The dad says, "A man is someone who is responsible and cares for their family." The kid says, "I hope one day I can be a man just like Mom."
Yeah.
Sorry, and I lied. It's not my last one. This one's my last one.
Oh, okay.
A girl realized that she had grown hair between her legs. She got worried and asked her mom about the hair. Her mom calmly said, "That part where the hair has grown is called your monkey. Be proud that your monkey has grown hair." The girl smiled. At dinner, she told her sister, "My monkey has grown hair." Her sister smiled and said, "That's nothing. Mine is already eating bananas."
Oh my God.
Their mother must be so proud.
So proud.
And that's
funny.
it for the witty wrap up.
All right. Well, again, you can find us on Stitcher and YouTube now, and Podcast Addict, Google Play, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also find our Facebook page and Twitter, which I haven't been posting to that, so just trying to focus on Facebook right now. But yeah, look us up and send us your emails. We want to hear your stories at ghoulsnightoutpodcast@gmail.com. And thanks so much for listening. We will talk to you next week.
Later.
Bye.